Hello everyone, my name is Heather and welcome to the channel Bookables. Today I'm here to do my fall TBR. So a few years ago I used to do a TBR video every single month. I would talk about what books I'm reading that month, and then at the end of the month I would do a wrap up of all the books that I read. I still do the wrap up, but I don't do TBRs anymore because I have learned that I'm a mood reader 1000%. And a lot of times if I don't feel a book, I just move on to the next one and there you go. TBRs were a little bit more structured and kept me kind of on a leash, if you will. Well, that's why I don't do them anymore. So I try to do seasonal ones where I really try to focus on new releases that are coming out within that quarter, and then also some backlist books that I would like to read. Now, do I read all of these? Absolutely not. Like if I look back at my summer one and then my spring one, I guarantee you probably won't have read half of them. But these are just kind of books that I'm hoping to read in the next few months. If I do, great. If I don't, great. Either way, maybe it'll help you figure out what you want to read too. First up, I'm going to start with new releases. I have a ton of new releases. I did my video recently of books that are coming out this fall that I'm really excited for, and spoiler warning, there's a lot. Will I read all of them? Absolutely not, but I'm going to quick fire ones I really want to read. Simply The Unfortunate Side Effects of Heartbreak and Magic. This is by, I forget the author's name, but this is basically about a girl that has magic in her family, and her family's always been kind of cursed with love, and then she finds out her grandmother is dying, and it sounds just very magical and whimsical and also really deep, honestly, so I'm very excited for that one. Then we have The Unmaking of June Farrow by Adrienne Young. This one comes out in November, but I'll probably read it in September because it just gives off that fall vibe. It's set in a very small town in North Carolina where it's about this girl who her family works in a flower farm. Her grandmother's also maybe about to pass away, and magic and secrets ensue. She wrote The Spells for Forgetting, which I read last year and loved. It was such an atmospheric fall time that I'm hoping that this one will be just the same. We have Black Sheep by Rachel Harrison. She writes horror novels that aren't really horror. That's just my opinion. They're kind of just have horror elements in them, but have a lot of family and stuff in them. This one's about a character that I believe lives in this very strict religious community, and she decides to leave. And when you leave a community like that, like they exonerate you, like you don't talk to them anymore, or they don't contact you. But then she gets an invitation to her cousin's wedding, and she's invited back to this place where she, was pretty much kicked out of. And so she's like, are they welcoming back? And when she goes there, things are starting to really get creepy and unraveling, and it sounds like kind of like a cult and very darkly religious. So I'm interested to see how it's gonna go. Really am. Of creepy ones, we have My Darling Girl by Jennifer McMahon. This is a thriller one about a character that takes in her dying alcoholic mother, and she learns that she maybe thinks that her mom is being possessed by a demon. So that is super freaking creepy. So will I need to read this with lights on? Probably. Another creepy one, Midnight is the Darkest Hour by Ashley Winstead. This one kind of reminds me of Black Sheep, where it's all about this character that her dad is like a pastor, and he preaches like fire and brimstone, like those pastors where it's like hell, 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 and there's like no redemption, and those are just really intense. And the only thing people in this town fear more than God and the devil are the myths that kind of surround it, like with this vampire. And it reminds me, like, the plot sounds so much like Midnight Mass. That show just sounds like identical almost. So we'll see. I really love Ashley Winstead's books. I have This Spells Love by Kate Robb. This one's a witchy book about a girl that gets dumped, and she decides to put a spell that makes her forget about him, only it goes a little bit too deep, where she is now in a world where he has no recollection who he is, he has no recollection who she is, and it's just kind of just interesting. And so it's going to be funny, and I'm very excited for a funny witchy book. Timber House by Carissa Orlando. This is about a woman and her husband. They find their dream home in this Victorian old beautiful house, and they get it for an amazing deal. It's too good to be true. It is. And basically they learn every September the walls like drip blood, and there's hauntings, like there's people there that are scared of the basement, and the husband's finally like, you know what, forget this, I am done. And the woman's like, nah, I worked hard for this house and I am not giving it. And basically her daughter comes to visit, and her daughter has no clue about these hauntings, so her mom's trying to keep everything like copacetic, and maybe, just maybe this September the walls won't bleed. It sounds so creepy. Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. This is the prequel to his book Legends and Lattes, where we follow Viv when she's with her company. She's an orc, and it's like kind of very like World of Warcraft but cozy. And if that doesn't intrigue you, I don't know what will, because I love Legend and Latte, so I will definitely be reading this one. Then, of course, I have The Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. We all know this is a sequel to Fourth Wing, which was very, very popular. It's a dragon fantasy that I ate up like freaking candy. It reminded me a lot of Divergent and Hunger Games, and I loved it. So you bet your bottom dollar I will be reading this. I've already pre-ordered it. I'm not playing around this time. And then those are the ones that I really, really want to get to. And then for Backlist, I have a few backlists that I really would like to read that kind of fit the bill. First up is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston. I keep putting this book off. I have no clue why. I think because it looks kind of fallish with the orange covers on it. It's probably like set in the dead of summer too, so I could be just beating myself up. All I know is this is pretty much the Lake House movie. If you know what that's about, Sandra Bullock, Keanu Reeves, they fall in love, they're in the same house, but only different time periods, like he's like 7 years before her or something like that. It's very interesting, so I want to read this one. Half a Soul by Olivia Atwater. This is like a cozy fantasy that's Regency, I believe. It's about a character named Theodora who was cursed by a fairy, and she has no sense of fear or embarrassment. And then if her reputation can survive both her curse and her sudden connection with the least liked man in all of high society, then she and her family may reclaim their normal place in the world. It just sounds fun. I've heard amazing things about it. For some reason, it seems kind of fallish. Like, again, I could be 1000% wrong. Also, The Encyclopedia of Fairies by Heather Fawcett, like this cover. This is about a girl named Emily Wilde who, it's basically her book of researching fairies, and she goes to this island to research fairies. She meets a guy, or like her nemesis follows her, and I have just heard amazing things about it. Again, this is another type of cozy fantasy book that I think are just perfect to read in fall, so that's why I have waited for them. Much like I've been waiting to read All Roads Lead Here by Mariana Zapata. If you don't know, I read The Walnut, a Pig and Me a few months ago. I fell in love with it. Her books are now being published regularly, so this one doesn't come out till January. So did I go on eBay and buy this? Yes, I did. And I'm very excited about it. It's about a girl named Aurora who knows moving back to a place of one's home is going to be easy. And it says, but a small town in the mountains might be the perfect remedy for a broken heart. I mean, it just looks fallish. She's wearing a beanie, for goodness sake. It's fallish, right? I am so excited to read this one. I'm saving it for September. I'm not even gonna lie to you. Also, this would be amazing if I could read this. This is a stretch. The House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is a sequel to, oh gosh, The House of Earth and Blood, which I really loved. It's just like this, like it's a lot. It's, how many pages are you? No big deal. You're like 800 pages. Nothing. This one's going to be an amazing feat if I get to read this fall. Like, I will applaud myself if I read this. What I have that I really want to read is Anne of Green Gables. I just have always wanted to read Anne of Green Gables, and I do. Here's my thing with classics. I've really struggled a lot being in this space where I'm kind of a book reviewer and things like that, that I don't like classics. I feel like that's like kind of like hearsay, and like oh my gosh, like lock yourself up, because if you don't like classics, you're not a true reader. And I've struggled with that for years, and finally I've come to the fact that, like, you know what? It's okay. I'm just not a classic reader, and that's okay. And I've learned that maybe some classes I'm into. I read Little Women a couple years ago and loved it. It was just cozy. It was warm. It was easy to read. And I feel like Anne of Green Gables will be the same. So I feel like I will fall in love with it. And from there, I might want to read a lot of like younger ones like Heidi and things like that, Black Beauty. But I just feel like Anne of Green Gables is the perfect time to read it. And it just sounds so heartwarming. And I haven't seen any adaptations of it. So I will have to read the book and then watch the movie or show. I forget. I know there's probably countless of them, but I just want to check out another classic, because I do like reading a few classics here and there. Not a lot, because I don't know, I'm just not a classic girl, so there's that. But either way, those are all the books I'm planning to read in the next few months. Will I read other ones that I did not mention on this list? Absolutely. Will I read all of them that I mentioned in this list? No. But a girl can dream and a girl can try. I would love to know what books you're reading this fall. Do you have a lot on your list? Do you not have a lot? Please let me know. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.